your side.
You do?
Yeah, or maybe from one of you two.
Can you hear any echo from my side?
Yeah,
No,
no, not from
I
you.
don't.
From you is good.
And from my side?
Yeah, it's coming from you. Yeah.
Uh,
I don't
that's
hear it.
weird.
I don't
Yeah,
hear
And
because
it.
I'm
how is
also
it? How
hearing.
is it for me? From my side, is
I'm
it good?
Yeah.
I'm getting the echo from when I talk. I hear myself too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
same here.
How about now? Is
Uh,
everything better?
yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good actually. Max?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, now it's gone.
Yeah,
No echo.
now it's perfect. Yeah, so we go. Okay, what's going on, everyone? So yeah, the video is going to stabilize in the moment, so let's not even pay attention to that. So I guess what's even more important is that we are connected on LinkedIn, and yeah, we can hear each other. So whatever. Hi, Max. Hi, OG. Nice to have you guys here, and thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. So I'm going to start with a quick introduction. Start with myself, and then with you guys. So OG, you go, and then Max. We could just talk a bit about ourselves and also our experience within the Web3 and blockchain space, and also about today, DeFi, the new finance Lego. So my name is Mike, and I'm the co-founder of Ojira Soft, and one of our products is Settling. Settling is a social media platform that connects and informs people about migration. And yeah, why are we doing this topic today, DeFi? One might ask themselves, how is this connected with migration? Well, I guess everything, because people move around the world, every now and then, and this is where we're actually focused. And we are also, yeah, trying to get people all the values that comes with the new locations where they are. And I think one very important aspect is when it comes to technologies that facilitates this movement of people around the globe. But even more importantly, how do people become really, really independent and understand the things happening around them? I think DeFi is a very important thing that everyone should know about, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm excited to be here, and we have an interesting setup: audio on LinkedIn, and then video across YouTube and Twitter, and then LinkedIn again for my personal profile. So let's see. OG, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so
Great.
I'll
Maybe you
just
could talk.
introduce
Yeah, go
myself.
on.
Yeah, my full name is Ogochukwu Iwuchukwu, and for me, the Web3 space has always been interesting. I would say for the past 8 years, when I started out I would say, exploration into blockchain and Web3. Um, yeah, I see DeFi as not just a new finance Lego, but also a method of having the whole world have access to um, the same opportunities that the TradFi offers, but something bigger, something more transparent, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is why we're here. So plug in, sit back, relax, and feel fine.
100%. Yeah, Max, maybe you could go with a quick round of introduction.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Max. I'm based in Germany, and I've been privately involved in crypto for a long time. I started in early 2017, so it's been a couple of years. Professionally, I've been working in crypto for now almost 4 years as a full-time employee for various companies. And in my day-to-day life, professional but also privately, DeFi is a big part of it, and it's becoming more and more important for financial inclusion, right? For as Mike said, for different in different areas of people's lives, also especially for migrants, right? When it comes to payments, but also investment opportunities, for example. So very important topic and very highly connected with migration in general. So happy to also share my knowledge, my opinions on that, and I hope the viewers and the listeners will get the most value out of it.
For sure, 100%. So I'm just asking myself now, what blows our mind the most when we think about DeFi? For me, there are actually two things, that really blows my mind about DeFi. And the first one is very fundamental in the sense that this is not something that I used to be aware of or pay attention to, and that is the rate of the adoption of a new technology. I think in the last 4 to 5 years now, I've started to look into this kind of trends about, okay, hey, what's really happening, and then comparing it to things that have happened in the past. A good example is when the internet came, I think 3 decades ago in the early 90s. Um, yeah, well, I was just born then, so I couldn't have known anything so much about it. But over the years, we've seen different new technologies come and go, and yeah, I think for most of us, we did not really understand what's happening. Right now, what really blows my mind is I have that opportunity to understand that, hey, there's another big thing happening within the digital technology space. And that is something very similar to, yeah, the invention of the internet back in the early days. Um, and I don't know if you guys have seen the comparison of the rate of adoption of things around the Web3 space versus the internet. It's actually faster for Web3 than the internet. So that's really one thing that blows my mind. And I'm like, hey, I have an opportunity to understand the new trends, just like many companies back when the internet came out first. So, like, yeah, the tech giants that we know today, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and the rest. And the other thing which really blows my mind is how much that is in within the DeFi space. More specifically, the last time I checked, it should be something between 50 to 80 billion dollars. I think so. The last time I checked, but these are two major things that blow my mind when I think about this, DeFi. I'd like to know from you guys as well. What is it that just really blows your mind when you think about DeFi that you'd be like, oh wow, no way, I am going to do this stuff. I'm going to learn more about this.
Yeah, I can go. So for me, I would say it's the financial inclusion, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
level playing ground for everyone, no matter what you are, who you are, where you're from, your location. It's financially inclusive. So even if you have $10 or $10 million, it doesn't matter, right?
That's
And
right.
I would say the cross border payments for me is something that I can send literally any amount of money from where I am to anywhere in the world, you know? So to
Mm-hmm.
me, those two things are like, wow. I remember a time I needed to send some money to Nigeria, where I'm from Germany. And it was a very busy day. I'm like, hey, do you have a Binance or a Bybit account? And it was as easy as 2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, 100%,
Yeah, so
100%.
for me, that's yeah. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean,
The the first time I did a Binance, a P2P transform Binance, I sent it to the email address of my friend in less than a second. I told him, John, it's over for the banks, because in just a second he gave me his email address and I could just send him USDT. In a few seconds, it was done. And then also it was so easy to just convert that also, to the local currency within a few seconds. And I'm like, what the heck are we talking about here? Not to mention the exchange rate. Anyways, not to go into that. Max, let's hear you. What blows your mind about DeFi?
Yeah, 100%. In general, I think coming to the rate of adoption, what is really interesting also to see is to grasp the concept of the Web3 in general and the crypto and DeFi movement. So if you think about the internet, right, as a first step, and
Yeah.
I think Chris Nixon from A16Z, one of the biggest bespoke investors in the crypto space, he has a book that is called Read, Write, Own. So the three
Mm-hmm.
steps of the internet, basically describing the first step that you could basically consume and read information on the website in the early 90s, as Mike said. Then it came the
Yeah.
right era where you could also post something if you think about Facebook or other social media apps, right, where you can also share some thoughts and content, but also in terms of like sending money, for example, right, digitally. But the third one is also then the crypto step, so to say, the third step where you actually own the data, right? As a counter example, if you, for example, are on Facebook or even on LinkedIn, right? Ironically, you could, you contribute a lot to the worth and the value of the network by producing content. Mike is a good example for that, right? But
100%.
what he gains from it is, of course, like visibility and followership, etc. But the data that is being monetized by LinkedIn is not owned by Mike, right? By terms of agreements. And this is basically what the concept is about, right? That, for example, Mike as a content creator would own the data. And I think this really blows my mind when it comes to crypto in general, that you can own the data, can own royalties. If you write a song, right, it's a very complex chain of co-owners, right, and where the royalties are being paid out. So this is very interesting. And when it comes to DeFi, I think as a first step, as you said, sending, for example, stable coins sounds very boring, right? Like stable coins pegged to the USDT. Or to USDC. But this is one of the first killer apps within DeFi, right? Where you can do, for example, cross-border payments within literally seconds, without any big commission rates from the usual middleman. So this is quite interesting to see.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, maybe let's define what DeFi actually is, and the main concept there. So for someone who is just watching this or listening to this for the first time, what should they know about DeFi? Let's try to explain it in the really simple terms that someone who is not very active within the Web3 or crypto space can just be able to understand DeFi.
Yeah. So DeFi basically means decentralized finance. So decentralization happens on blockchain networks, for example, Ethereum. It simply means that there isn't one system controlling things. For example, a bank, right? It means that the owners are distributed across different networks, which makes it, I would say, more transparent, which comes with immutability, meaning you can't change things, right? And this is a form of empowerment for the people. So you are your own. Just imagine
That's
yourself.
right.
Whatever big bank you can think about, right? You are your own bank. So that's the simplest way I can put it.
That's right. Yeah. 100%. I like what you mentioned. You are your own bank. It makes a lot of sense. And I think it's something that people need to really grasp and understand. Like, you are literally your own bank. And I imagine the world, not so far away from now, getting to the stage whereby it's just you, your phone, and the internet. And then you can do what the heck you want to do. Of course, it does come with a downside for sure, but that's like the next level of, in my opinion, financial independence. I think, OG, when you started talking at first, you did mention that how people get opportunities to partake in, let me put it like this, investment, for example, that otherwise they would not be able to partake in. For example, there's an asset that you want to be a part of, but it's going for 100K. Not so many people have 100K, but DeFi is something that could allow you that even if you have $100, you can actually partake in that and you get a fair share of that investment, for example. And I think this is one very important thing that people even need to begin to, wrap their mind around the concept of DeFi. Max, how would you explain DeFi to someone who's just getting into the space for the first time?
Yeah, I would build on Oji's point, right, where there's no central middleman or ownership of financial services. So if you define the finance in the DeFi term, basically, if you think about, okay, what are the usual finance services and products? Very straightforward. If you think about payments, that usually when you do a payment, it goes through a middleman. It goes through middlemen that also charge a lot of maybe fees, right, when it comes to cross-border, for example. But also other services like lending and borrowing, which is also part of the financial world, right? If you have, you would like to lend some money out, and then you can make some yield on it. They're actually blockchain-based products, right, that enable, without any company, without any middleman, just smart contracts and programs, to match lend and borrowers together. So lending
Yeah,
involves
yeah,
investing, insurance, and these are all the decentralized system. Also trading. If you think about, if you go to a centralized exchange like Binance, I know they have also decentralized products, right? But if I go to a centralized exchanges, there are a lot of decentralized alternatives that are built on the blockchain. Like Uniswap is a good
yeah,
example. There are many others as well, where there's no
yeah.
middleman between matching buyers and sellers. So distributed financial services like payments, trading, investing, insurance, without the middleman, and therefore cheaper, more efficient, because only the two parties are being brought together.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I'd like to tell a story just so that people who are listening or watching can understand one practical use case of DeFi, and just, yeah, because I guess if we can keep talking about all these definitions and explanations, but uh, it may be hard for someone to really grasp it. Okay. I think one story that I can share to help people relate to is, uh, yeah, many years back until recently, I had this like automated way to invest in stock. So it's at the end of the month, a certain amount goes from my bank account to um, uh, a stock trading platform like Trade Republic, for example. Let's use that, and then that is converted, and then it buys one stock like S whatever P 500 and all the bunch of stuff there. So that was going on for years. I just set it automatically, so I don't have to do anything. So it goes from my bank account to the trading platform, converts to buys the stock which I've set it to buy. I think this is one practical case when it comes to just the regular financial system, so TradiFi or traditional finance. But what I noticed was that one, the earnings that I was having there was quite low, um, but it was good, much better than just sitting in the bank, right? So I guess for me, I was a bit one step ahead of most people that would just maybe keep their money in the bank account. Uh, so I had this method, right? So, but then after a while, when I started learning about DeFi and all that, I thought, okay, I don't like what I've been doing the last years. I'm going to change and really do something within the DeFi space. So what I did is I moved my funds, and now, like Max you explained, so I am now partaking within the DeFi space. So I'm using, for example, a decentralized exchange. Guys, if you don't know what a decentralized exchange is, feel free to just leave a comment to ask. We could explain that. But what I did is I moved part of my fund to just a decentralized exchange, and I was contributing to the liquidity within the platform. So essentially, I put my money out there so that people who want to use it can use it because I don't need it, right? And then the good thing is, like OG explained, you're dealing with smart contracts, so you're not dealing with anybody. You submit whatever form and stuff like that, but the smart contracts take care of everything. So I put X amount of euros, and then I don't want to go into the whole liquidity pool pairing and all that stuff, so it doesn't get people confused. But what I did is I moved my money from the trading platform. I put it on a decentralized exchange. Um, since I don't need the money, there are people who need it to trade, to do whatever. I don't care what they do with it. But to a good extent, I trust the contract, and then I put my money there, and I'm getting like way better interest rates. Let me put it that way. And now the nice thing is it's even way more automated because what I'm actually doing is I am providing liquidity and then I'm farming. So I harvest, which is a very funny term, but you will learn it once you get into the DeFi space. So I get my yield, I put it back, and I'm actually very happy with the returns in the last month that I put it there. And it's crazy, but it's real, you know. Um, have you guys had some experience like this about where you actually interacted within the DeFi space? I know there are hundreds of them, but maybe we could just share one story of actual interaction within the DeFi ecosystem.
Yeah, I can share. So, for example, for the last couple of maybe 4 years now, I have this automated staking that I do on centralized exchanges. So if you don't want to go into all the farming and harvesting and liquidity providing using DEXs and all that, you can even use a centralized exchange to be a part of DeFi, right? For example,
Mm-hmm.
Binance, Bybit, they have staking platforms, you can just add an additional yield to what you are getting on whatever asset that you have. So it's done
Yeah.
automatically. You can reinvest whatever
Mm-hmm.
profits come from that. So it's something that I just set and it just goes, right?
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
plug and play system. Decentralized exchanges, the centralized exchanges have made it easy for people to partake in decentralized finance. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for me, I think in general, a good example would be payment. Again, cross-border payments, right? This is again part also of finance. I personally, because I would say I live in the Western world. I'm in Germany here, so the offerings from the traditional Web2 world are actually quite good. So we're a little bit spoiled in that sense. But most of the population doesn't have access to these, right? Maybe because
Yeah.
of regulatory or government or lack of technology. And this is something really good for them when to participate in the first step, right? Again, very simple use case like sending money abroad to family, for example, via stable coins and non-custodial wallets. But for me personally, it was actually also a staking part. So staking for has nothing to do with the stake, so to say, but it's a feature of investing within the crypto world. And staking is actually quite interesting and personally also my favorite because what staking is basically if you have, let's say, a cryptocurrency like Ethereum, which is based on a proof of stake system, this Ethereum is stakeable, meaning that you can sort of invest it or lock it up. And you, by locking it up, you're contributing to the security of the entire network. So it's some sort of investing. But a crucial point is that your Ethereum never leaves your wallet. So there's no counterparty risk. Nevertheless, you get rewards, right, for locking it up, so to say, as an economic security to the network. And this is a good way to generate passive income. So this is personally something that I like to do because it has very, very little risks. But there are also other examples, like, for example, liquidity providing. It's a little bit more of an advanced concept. But basically, if you have a trading pair, let's say Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can basically provide liquidity to the pools of the decentralized exchanges. And by doing so, if there's trading volume, you earn a little bit of a fee. There's a little bit more risk involved in that, but there's also could be another part of participating in DeFi.
100%, 100%. We have someone here, Rita. If you'd like, you can unmute yourself and make your contribution.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. You guys are experts. You are buffs. I'm so impressed with you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And all I want to know is how to get started. Someone help me into this.
Okay.
Jokes aside.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of those people, many people who feel totally banned for many years by all sorts of cryptocurrency salespeople on all social platforms who bombard me with these invites and these honestly very shady offers. I just never understood. So please, here we go. Look me up.
100%. That's a good one. Yeah. Who wants to go? OG, Max?
OG, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. It depends on your risk threshold, like I would always tell people. But the first and the most important thing is to get the education, right? And you can learn in two ways: practically or theoretically, or both, right? So practically means delving into the deep waters. Maybe you want to get exposure with an ETF. I mean, we have the Bitcoin ETF now, Ethereum ETFs. It's up to you, right? If you want to have the asset itself, then that's another story. But I would say education is key. I mean, there are so many books. There's the internet, right? You can start with what is Bitcoin. You can read the Bitcoin white paper, try to understand. You can, for example, go to CoinGecko. There are so many websites that can give you a lot of insights, right? And you can also find a mentor like Mike. You know, you can follow platforms. There are so many ways. Yeah, there are so many ways. There are so many ways. I would say news sources, CoinGecko, CoinGap, you know, places where you can get relevant information, real-time information. This would really help you because a lot of things happen very fast in this space. You know, but
Yeah.
understanding, for example, what are
Yeah.
smart contracts? What is the difference between proof of stake, proof of works, you know, consensus mechanisms, like different things, just trying to understand first of all,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
delving that deep into buying something, like investing in something or making the move, you know, getting your feet deep in the water. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
100%. Max, what do you? Okay, yeah, go on, Rita. No worries. Max, what would you say?
Yeah, my first question would be, Rita, what's kind of your goal? Is it more like, learning on the programming side, investing, or being able to do cross-border payments? What's kind of your goal when you ask where to start?
You know, I'm just an eternally curious person, and I've been curious about the world of finance.
Yeah.
Always. I almost went to study finance, but psychology just doubled. Now, um, I think it's about time I should educate myself how investment works. At
100%.
my age, there are so many reasons to not let my money sit in the bank. Not that I have any yet, mind you. The thing is that things are changing, and
Yeah.
you never know where the next heritage is coming from. I mean, you know, good things happen.
100%. 100%.
And I want to be prepared. I think I probably have about half a year to educate myself with the basics. And I'm telling you, I'm just so overwhelmed with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
100%.
general, you're right that there's a lot of I think there's still, because it's an early technology, and everything that is early has also a lot of like scammers, right? And people try to fraud you, and this is also true for the crypto space. There's a lot of scamming going on, right? And this is also true because many people are, and we all are to some certain degree, also you could say greedy, right? So what I saw personally over the years is that many people treat this crypto space as an opportunity to get rich quick, right? And this kind of leads them into buying some very, very exotic, very risky investments and tokens that turn out to be scams, right? So my advice would be, sometimes there's so many information that you don't know like what to do. But I think the first start, or if I put myself being very early, then I would basically just buy a little bit of maybe Bitcoin even, right? Because the fact that you invested some symbolic amount doesn't have to be much. It makes you a little bit more sharp, right, when reading, because you have a little bit skin of the game. And in the first 6 months or a couple of months, I would not buy anything else, just very basic, boring Bitcoin, and then you will figure it out on the way, right? But I would avoid, if I were to start, I would avoid buying, because there are thousands of cryptocurrencies, right? And you may think, hey, I missed the boat, I missed the train on Bitcoin, I'm too late, right? So I buy another coin because I want to get rich quick. But very likely this will be a scam, and maybe you will lose money. So I would be very careful, and maybe just to get the ball rolling, buy a symbolic amount of Bitcoin with some very little amount, and this will make you a little bit more aware and a little bit more motivated to do the next step then.
100%. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where I go buy it, I just go online and I say, okay, I want to buy Bitcoin.
And
Yeah, I
Google will
think,
tell you.
So you just pray for it. But I think a good step, because it's always a trade-off of security and usability, and centralized exchanges, right, are a very good first step. The user experience is very easy. You can log in. So if you have the opportunity to register with a centralized exchange like Binance, for example, Coinbase or Kraken. There are many of these, but Binance is a good start. It's quite a safe exchange, right? It's been there for a long time. So I would start there, and then you can still, while educating yourself, you can maybe then set up a non-custodial wallet, a hardware wallet, where you actually take possession of the coins yourself. But the first step, I would recommend a centralized exchange like Binance.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I think really the first step is education. Like, I ventured into crypto back in 2016, towards the end of my master's studies. I was so deep into the space that I stopped writing my master's thesis and pushed it by 6 months because I just didn't have time for the thesis. I was just so interested in this stuff. And maybe I was lucky. I didn't feel the pressure to jump in. I just was more interested in understanding this stuff. And I was reading a lot of these, watching videos. So I feel like the first step for anyone is that education. Why? Because what's happening here is very fundamental. It's revolutionary, if you put it that way. It's the next level of how you use the internet. It's the next level of how we access the web. I think it was Max who mentioned it, the transition of you need to understand where everything started from, back from the, maybe, I don't know how far back you want to go, but you can go as far back as the invention of computers. And then until the steps where there are networks, and then internet connections, connecting computers, and then global connection. But maybe not need to go so backwards, but just start from, okay, hey, the internet, and think about how life used to be back when there was no internet, and what's the difference now. And then think about the businesses built on top of the internet. And then imagine how today it's like life for some people would not exist without the internet. That's how important and fundamental the internet is today. So that's one level of thoughts. But then the other level is the businesses that are built on top of the internet, So that's like the next level when you're thinking financially what that could be for you. And just like Max mentioned, I think the wrong notion here is that people just think that I like to use Web3. I hate to say crypto. Why? Because there's always this really negative association with crypto, because the bad things happening within the crypto space tend to be louder than the good things. So I rather say Web3 because it encompasses everything within the space, So the real space here is Web3, and that's how we use and access the web today or in the next phase, And this, I think if you understand it from this point, which wouldn't happen overnight, then it makes every other steps in the way a lot easier, because then it's a long-term stuff. It's not overnight. And then okay, hey, how you use it, and then what exactly is your purpose, like Max asked you, because it's not just about finance. Although today we're talking about decentralized finance, but overall, Web3 is not just about finance. Many other things within that space as well. But what's interesting is it comes with, to a large extent, financial freedom if you really understand what's happening in the space, because almost everything you do is transactional. And if you know how to move things around, then for each transaction, you're earning something.
So you guys all do the stuff for yourself, for your own, and not for somebody else, or you're not using agents for agents to do this, right?
Well, for me, no, I don't use anybody to do nothing. I don't know about the guys.
But you don't need it. Like, it's another middleman, really. Like, if you can use the internet, and you can, otherwise you would not be here. You can sign up on Binance, for example. Again, it's a good first step. There are 20 other steps, but I think it's just the safest one. Because to give one example, and then I let OG comment. If you, for example, lose your password on Binance, right? You just call the customer support or press the password forget button. So there's not many things that you can screw up, so to say, with a centralized exchange. That's why it's an easy way to move ahead, right? To do the first step, and from there you will. My recommendation would be, because if you log into Binance, it's not just like buy and sell. It's like 1,000 other buttons, like decentralized exchange, it's like lending. So I would really stay focused and just be very conservative with, maybe this is your decision, buy a little amount just to feel like having skin in the game, and then go to the educational part, as Mike said. This really helped me, like having a little bit of skin in the game to educate. increases their attention, in my opinion. But I would start with a centralized exchange. You don't need any agent, in my opinion.
100%.
How do you spell that? Binance?
Yeah, maybe Mike can.
Yeah, I can just put in
Yeah.
the. I can just put in the comments. Yeah, put in the comments. For sure, no worries, for
Yeah.
sure.
And it's for
Great.
free, right? You don't have to pay anything to sign up. You can sign up and maybe then do nothing, right, for a couple of weeks or months. So there's no risk for signing up.
Yeah.
But you know what? You have taken my mind off a lot of trouble because there's a group of women of my age plus on Facebook that I joined, and they are selling this educational training thingy package for, I don't know, something like 5,000 euros.
Wow.
And they are getting women, teaching and webinars. So maybe this is idea for you guys. Because honestly, they are playing with the insecurity
Yeah.
of women
Wow.
and
Yeah.
fear of uncertainty, and of course with the greed as well, but
Yeah.
mostly the with the pain points.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
And so I have watched it, I participated in these field webinars for like, I don't know, 5 weeks or something just to get myself this much way into what they're even talking about. So you guys are doing it for real, and I totally commend your knowledge and your way to look at this very task oriented, because it is a transaction we're talking about. I mean, even if money is money, but it's a transaction, and emotions should not really be in the way.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So I think overall, it's again just the education and understanding primarily that it's a new technology here, or a new technological revolution, however you want to put it. But that, in my opinion, would be the fundamental thing that everyone should just start from, and get practical about it. You test with, $20, $50, just feel the experience, pay from here, transfer there. Truth be told, it's complicated. Like, even for people who are like in the space for years, some things are still quite complicated. And then the fact that the very point that the very fact that when you go like to the extreme in my opinion, meaning not with centralized platforms like Max was mentioning, centralized exchanges, it's like when you get into that DeFi space, decentralized finance, where it's just you and the contract interacting. It's not something for like that everyday person understands. Why? Because it's get a bit technical. um, so and now what's even interesting is the way the world has moved. Why? Because the banking system makes you feel like you need to put your money in a building for your money to be safe. And most people think that their money is actually physically there somewhere. But the truth is, it's not this. You don't, this, in most cases, there's no physical cash. Everything is purely digital. And what's even more interesting is that when you get a loan, quote unquote loan, to get a house, most of the private banks just print the money. They do not have that money actually. No, but they are giving you that loan, making money out of thin air, in the hope that you're going to pay back, and then with interest. And that's how the bank makes money. And majority of the people feel that they need to put their money in a safe place, so they don't think about educating themselves to understand how money works. But the truth is, we left that era of financial whatever maybe 100 years ago. Money is not backed by gold anymore, definitely not the USD. So this is how far back it goes. It's very deep. And so I guess by the time you begin, it makes you begin to understand it. And I think that's also what brings us again to the whole DeFi space, and which is fundamentally, hopefully it's going to become mainstream, and people really get to understand how to interact with money and how the whole ecosystem works. So
Yeah.
now I would like us to dive into maybe more what's happening within the DeFi space, some practical use cases. I think what I've been seeing recently is mainstream payment platforms get into the not necessarily DeFi space, but there's now that bridge between how you can just move cash a lot easier. So maybe you guys heard OG and Max, PayPal with their stablecoin last year, and then recently, what are those guys called again? Stripe, that bought
Stripe.
the stablecoin coin fintech company, the Bridge. And I guess what people should begin to ask themselves is, why are these mainstream payment platforms getting into the crypto space, the Web3 space, the DeFi space, if we put it that way? So I think there's something which is happening here. What do you guys see on your side? What do you think it's happening here? Why are those guys moving into the space?
Yeah, I mean, the traditional banking system has its vulnerabilities, right? That many people may not realize, but they know. Banks are basically centralized entities, meaning that they control funds, they take risk, and then they just charge fees, to access what is essentially your own money, right? It's like you have $10 and then you give me $10 and then I charge you for you giving me. Crazy, but that's what it is. And history has shown that these institutions are not immune to crisis. So for example, the 2008 financial collapse, where the banks failed, and this is where risky lending practices, or I would say poor management, led to people losing access to their funds, and yeah, bailouts from taxpayers and all that. So you can see that this centralized model is a single point of failure. I mean, there's been cyber attacks, which yes, there can be in DeFi as well, but at least you know that it's not a centralized entity responsible for this. And DeFi, on the other hand, is very decentralized, meaning that no single entity has control over your funds. It's run transparently on the blockchain. Everything is
100%.
completely clear, where smart contracts basically code that executes these transactions, and it's automatic. So everything is managed automatically and transparently. So when with DeFi, your funds are in your control, especially with decentralized exchanges and hard wallets, and the transactions are fully transparent. You're not wondering why is a bank charging me monthly for just keeping my money and doing nothing. For example, in Germany, where you see that happen, and it's traceable to the blockchain. So every single transaction, for example, in Nigeria, in western part of Africa, where they just come up with some strange fees, they just, it's not transparent. There's no reason why they should be charging you such fees. Everything is completely transparent, and there are fewer fees, if any. City through some smart contract, and there's absolutely no fees. There are so many blockchains. You can use so many alternatives depending on what you want. There's Solana, there's Binance Smart Chain, there's Sui, there's Tron. There are so many options, right?
100%. Yeah.
It has its risks, yes, but there's a certain level of autonomy, and you're included. You see what's going on with your assets. These are the things that the banks cannot match, right? And
100%.
it represents I'll say a safer, more empowering alternative to centralized banking. So it empowers you as a person to know that you are in charge of your finances. Yeah. That's what I'll say.
100%. And we got a comment here. Max, maybe you can comment on the lack of security within the space, because definitely this is something that, we all can agree on,
Yeah. So the lack of security, this is true. There's still some vulnerabilities and hacks happening. But what I personally saw is that the many hacks are actually social engineered hacks, where not the blockchain itself was hacked. If you think about, for example, Bitcoin, right? And I kind of find a loop, like a hole in the technical security system. But what we see often is that the hack was social engineered. That, for example, because in simple terms, right? Imagine like I want to extract the password of Mike's wallet, right? To steal the money from his cryptocurrency. So I kind of make him think that I'm, I don't know, like a family member or or something, an emergency situation, to get access to his wallets, or maybe make him click a link that looks like very legit, right? But in the end, it was like a virus or Trojan horse to extract his password. So many hacks and many actions where wallets were emptied are actually a social engineering problem rather than the blockchain itself that has a vulnerability.
True. And I think this also brings back the whole education thing, how people have to really educate themselves. And again, 100%, there are a lot of risk within the Web3 space, within the crypto space, within the DeFi space. So, and that's why, you only jump in when you get the right knowledge, you go stepwisely. And
but that's why for somebody who just gets started like Rita, decentralized exchanges are a good place, because again, you cannot, and Binance is a very legit exchange. They have been proven for many years. So it's very unlikely that Binance will basically scam you and run away with the money. It's maybe the largest exchange regulated in a lot of countries. So even if you lose again your password to your Binance account, you just click very normal as you're used to in Facebook. If you forgot your password, you just click a new one. So you cannot lose your money there, so to say.
That's true. But then the deeper you get into it, go on, Rita.
I just said, it's okay, I'm signing up already.
Well, just
no
full
financial
disclosure.
advice.
Exactly. So no financial advice. We have nothing to do with Binance. I myself personally, I don't. And I think I'm sure OG and Max also, we don't work for Binance or promote Binance in any way. But it's a good place to start from if you would like to.
I'm wondering about all the people who are looking for advice. And then some of you who are so experienced might take one or the other suggestion. You always have to put a disclaimer with it, right?
Yeah, kind of, because people like to blame somebody else for their mistakes.
Exactly, for their mistakes. Something just came to my mind. Just reiterating again, Stripe on PayPal. So the reason why some of these big boys are gradually transitioning into DeFi is they don't have the 24/7 accessibility that DeFi has, right? They don't have instant settlement. They can't even compete with the low fees. And then the freedom to transact globally. So for example, you can see that they operate in certain places, but with DeFi, it's everywhere, right? So these limitations, they wouldn't just want to leave things on the table. They want to be included as well, and the opportunities are endless for them. So just thinking about it, I mean, why would you want to? It's multi-trillion dollars opportunity. Why would you want to leave that on the table?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking, if I know the numbers well, on a monthly basis, the transaction within the stable coin space is in the trillions. I think around is it between $1 to $3 trillion on a monthly basis? So that's a lot of money moving that the major payment gateways globally cannot. I think PayPal is the number one or the number two, but for sure Stripe is between the first three payment gateways in the world. So think about that type of transactions happening, or that amount of transaction happening every month without them taking their shares. They just want to have a fair share within that space. And again, what's even interesting right now is, Oji, like you mentioned, the money is moving off chain to on chain, which has a lot of faster settlement procedures and all that. For people who understand how the credit cards and all these payment cards work, the final settlement does not work instantly. You swipe your card and then the money is deducted, but the vendor or Visa themselves they don't get the money like right away. I think it's open for up to 6 months or so that you can still claim whatever. Like for sure, the settlement does not go instantly versus how it works in the crypto space. What's now interesting for most people that are listening is that, especially for entrepreneurs, this provide an additional, I would call it an additional way for you to raise revenue, because now you have um, way for people within a certain space to spend their money. Many people have money in the form of cryptocurrency, but they're not able to spend this. So right now, with what is happening with stablecoin and all this, big payment gateways coming into the space, then it's provides an additional payment method for vendors that they can then increase their sales, because many people who have crypto, they have no idea how to spend it. So this is also another thing. We're coming gradually to the end of this podcast, but just coming back to the space where we are, the migration space, which is actually the primary focus of settling. Um, I think for me personally, why I'm doing this is I want to educate people, especially those in diaspora. And why is this important? I think for the majority of people, they move from developing countries to developed countries, for example, where they have like better infrastructure, better regulations, but even more importantly, jumping on new technologies. And I feel like it's really important within the diaspora space that people will have access to these opportunities, can learn about it. Besides what they can do within that space for themselves, it also retrospectively can also help them um, transfer this knowledge. I mean, if it's not already existing back home. Um, but then what's even more interesting is the unbanked population, which we still have in many parts of the world, many developing countries. They do not have modern banking infrastructure. And this is why DeFi becomes, again, very essential. I think we already talked about this initially, that within the DeFi space, it's just you, your mobile phone, and then the internet, taking away all the middlemen. And I feel like this is very fundamental in the sense that um, it becomes very crucial if you are within the diaspora space, then you know exactly, hey, what is actually going to make my life a lot easier for me, where I am, what opportunities are there for me, and also when it comes to like remittance and all the stuff down the lane that you can actually tap into. Um, I would like us to just round up the session by just touching a bit about key points that we see, like in what's happening in the next phase, how we see DeFi, especially within the migration space, what it comes with, and then what people really should be paying attention to. Uh, I guess for us, it's we can find our way around and just move things, but for the majority of the people, they just hear these words like Web3, blockchain, DeFi, tokenizations, real world assets, and it's just like, what the heck? What should I do with these things? So I just would like you guys to touch a bit on that. Like, what should people know? How do they get into the space? And where should they start from?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, so basically, they need to understand the different use cases that DeFi comes with. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
lending and borrowing, platforms like Aave, Compound, where users are allowed to lend their assets to earn interest. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Two,
100%.
decentralized trading. So you can trade on a decentralized platform, for example, Uniswap, SushiSwap, Jupiter. Here you trade cryptocurrencies without any intermediary, right?
Yeah.
Another thing, savings and yield farming. This is for people who we can call them degens, yield farming, right? But projects like Yearn Finance, Call Finance, allow users to earn returns on their crypto by providing liquidity or staking their assets. Stable coins. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, USDT, USDC, DAI, is pegged one on one to the US dollar. So, one USDT is equal to one US dollar. So, you know what you're trading with.
Yeah.
And insurance, for example, I know we didn't mention this much. Nexus, or I don't know if you know Cover Protocol, DeFi insurance basically provides
Yeah.
protection for various risks, such as smart contract failures, right? Protocol hacks, if your
Mm-hmm.
protocol is hacked, yeah. And then asset management, payment and remittances, decentralized autonomous organizations. This basically means a governing protocol that you can make decisions. The structure gives you the community the control, and then you're an active participant. You can make decisions, and
Yeah.
yeah, so these are some of the things that people can look out for, and then educate yourself, get your hands dirty through maybe a centralized exchange like Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, Binance, etc. It doesn't have to be so much money. It could just be a little bit, and the more you getting to know about the space, the more you would be interested to even maybe invest more. If you want to go the education route, maybe learn more about it and teach others, right? If you want to go the
Definitely.
programming route, you can look into Solidity, so many ways to become or to be involved in the space as a person who has moved from a developing country to a developed country.
Definitely. Max?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Reggie covered a lot of points here. But again, if specifically touching upon migrants, right? I think cross-border payments might be very interesting for most of immigrants, right? Who maybe wants to support their family in their home countries. And so cross-border payment with stable coins are very interesting because first of all, stable coins again is basically a stable coin is like a US dollar, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have volatility. It's just pegged to the US dollar, so it's very stable. There's no volatility risk. And this is a good way. You can also experience it, for example, if you go to a centralized exchange, which again is a very good entrance into this crypto world because it's less risky. You can buy some stable coins like USDT or USDC, and then also send it even to another wallet, right? To your own wallet or to your family's wallet. So this is a very good, I think, step when it comes to cross-border payments for migrants, right? To get familiar with it, you can start with smaller amounts, and from there again, education is very important. And again, for me, it helped to have a little bit invested, but this is the viewer's own choice, right? But it helped just to be a little bit more attentive, right? What we read about because we have more skin in the game. So I would recommend if this is doable to maybe invest a little bit, whatever is possible, but very small amounts, right? More like something that you could lose, and then take it from there. And then the next steps will come. I would definitely recommend to not think that you will get rich quick. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
if somebody reach out to you with it sounds too good, then it is too good to be true. So I would be very conservative that way. And once you be in the space for a longer time, you will realize that you will be happy that you haven't gone too fast in the beginning. And this is what I always think when I reflect back. So I would start slow education, and maybe do like a stablecoin payment just to experience it without the volatility risk.
100%. 100%. Well, then, everybody, that brings us to the end of this session. But once more, I personally feel like this is an exciting space to be in. And I think those of us speaking today, we've been in the space for at least 5 years and plus. So, yeah, don't be overwhelmed by everything that we were talking about. They're mostly going to sound like gibberish or some kind of unfamiliar jargons. But this is something that would become, familiar to you by the time you get into the space. Everything that we're talking about today, we did not know it when we got into the space at first. Yeah, interesting. Max and I, how we met was back in 2017 during during a meetup, one of the blockchain meetups. So from our respective spaces, we were just curious about what's happening, and yeah, it was in the learning process that we met each other, and we've been friends since then. OG and I also we connected via LinkedIn, and she's also within that space as well. So what I can tell you for sure is that the Web3 space, to a very good extent, it's very friendly. Why? Because new tech, new stuff, everyone is just curious and they are quite open minded. So find yourself a nice community that you can just keep learning and learning. And definitely, it's not a get rich quick space. Just take that out of your mind. It's more about the tech, how to use the web, and then keep in mind that again, it's the next level of the internet, in my opinion. So there was read, and then there was write. Now we have read, write, and own. So go check that out for yourself, and I think that's a good place to start from. This event was brought to you by Settling. We are a social media platform that connects and informs people about migration. And we are actively looking into different connection points that would make life for migrants a lot easier for them. And we genuinely feel like Web3 and all the whole segment within that space are crucial things for people within the migration space or the diaspora space to understand. And that's why we're doing this today. So feel free to check us out on settling.com and follow us here on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you're watching us from. And be sure to hear more from us in the next weeks or days, as the case might be. I'd like to thank OG and Max for taking out the time to be here today. And I wish everybody a very nice weekend until we connect again. So cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Max for taking out the time to be here today. And I wish everybody a very nice weekend until we connect again. So cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, are we backstage? We should be backstage now.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, for some reason, StreamYard is so slow today. OG, the last time we had this, it was much smoother than this, right?
Yeah, it was.
I don't know, maybe because we are 3 today, but it has always been a lot smoother than this. So whatever is wrong with StreamYard, crazy.
Maybe different internet speeds and yeah. Let's blame it on the tech.
I think so. So what do you guys think about the session?
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, this lady was telling us we should start charging people 5K.
Yeah, that was crazy actually. Wow.
I know
she was actually quite spot on, right? That people like
100%.
just use your like the fear, right? And that if you're not in the space, you think like this, wow, this is crazy and complicated, right? So I feel bad for these people. Like it's quite a big amount of money.
But again, think about it. For those of us who are where we are today, we also invested a lot in different ways. Not to mention those people who had losses as well. You know, I think I've had my fair share of loss within the crypto space, and that was in the early days. You know, I had like the first-hand experience of phishing. I was trying to do an ICO, and then that Ethereum address that I sent 0.5 ETH to was for sure a phishing address. And so I think we've all paid some ways, right? So we did our own fair share of investments, definitely.
The scars that come with war.
Totally.
Good stuff. Max, are you in Berlin?
No, I'm in Munich.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, you in Berlin or?
Yes, I am. There used to be a lot of Chainlink events and a lot of crypto events I used to go to last year and the year before. And at some point, it was the same people, so I just stopped going. But there are a lot of crypto events in Berlin, NFT events. Oh my God, I've gone for a